I was standing in a room, and every person around me was talking. Well, that's not entirely true. I wasn't standing in a room, I was sitting in a room on a couch. And not everybody was talking, but they certainly wanted to. Their opinions and voices shouted to, needed to be heard. It made sense. We were all gossiping, spilling the tea, sharing the drama around 2, maybe 3 people that we collectively didn't like. But that's when I remembered this was a birthday party, a gathering in which we celebrate someone's life. But what were we doing? Gossiping. Instead of enjoying our time together, we were putting other people's lives down, reinforcing how much we didn't like these people, people who might just want to fit in with us and be our friends. Spending our time that way doesn't sit right with me. The reason we gossip at all is evolutionary, meant for survival. It originally served to our hunter-gatherer ancestors as a form of safety, a way to communicate if somebody was the weakest link, detrimental to the rest of the pack. For example, "My chief Grakthar, Enoch is a bad hunter. His catches be no bigger than mouse. We must banish." But since some would argue that we've evolved from that, society and gossip have had to evolve together. Now it takes different forms for different people through different times. Like Victorian aristocrats spilling the tea over a spot of tea, to "Mom, he won't give me a turn on the Xbox," to your grandma's consumeristic Tupperware parties. It's not a new thing. Gossip has been aiding and abetting housewives' social lives for thousands of years. What I'm interested in, really, is how it has evolved to fit the niche of the modern American high school. Buckle up. Because being a modern American high schooler myself, I have witnessed the birth, climax, and death of many a social conflict. And when it does happen, there always seem to be just a few people truly at the center of it. For example, there was one person who I met in my freshman year who took pride in hating drama, not contributing to the spread of it, and choosing not to interact with those who disseminate it. But since then, that pride has flipped itself on its own shoulders. Now they've become somewhat of a catalyst for drama themselves. Scientifically, taxonomically, they're known as Regina Georges, people like this. But I now know, see, hear, and experience firsthand stories of this person being the exact thing that they used to hate. A spreader of gossip, a betrayer of friends, the center of so much drama to the point of their friends being paranoid to talk to anybody who they haven't permitted them to. Additionally, I currently have a friend experiencing a similar thing. They often are at the center of drama. Many people dislike them a lot for it. Those people happen to enjoy gossiping about the gossipers, ironically enough. But I have known them long enough to see it differently. We'll be in a group of people and they'll try to share their interests, what makes them happy. But people will seldom listen. However, the minute they start to throw shade and trash talk, people immediately pay attention. Scientifically, taxonomically, people like them are known as Gretchen Wienerses. But it's not like they want to be the center of the drama, but nobody will listen to them otherwise. They need the drama. Doesn't mean they like it. And in my experience, many people don't. And so I asked some of my modern American high school friends what they had to say about the drama in their lives. For authenticity, I kept the exact punctuation and grammar that they used. There comes a point when the gossip gets turned into fact just by people saying it is. Hard to dig yourself out of that hole when in it. From Ren George. Recently, during the collapse of a relationship, secondhand rumors made the bad situation exponentially worse. I found myself defending my partner's poor behavior and also misled opinions from almost everybody we knew. It was like trying to put out a house fire from the kitchen. From Killian Stroth, my friend who probably needs therapy. And gossip hurt my feelings, sad face, from Gandhi. So gossip and drama are quite big deals for people of our age. But we have to remember they're actually two slightly different things. Gossip is generally more idle, simply talking about the goings-on of the community. It originated from the Old English word godsib, meaning godparent. Then this etymologically evolved over time as godparents had the tendency to be people who enjoyed spreading information about others via dinner parties and such. And so it eventually became a verb. To gossip is to circulate information about other people. It's not inherently a bad thing. Maybe you'll meet up with your old friends, talk about what happened to your middle school buds. Like, remember that kid Maddie? Apparently they think there's some sort of motivational speaker now. Pretty lame. Remember that guy Ted? He's always talking about his ex. Yeah, Ted never shuts up. But drama is different. Drama is gossip, with the added bonus of consequences. This is where things get heated. It comes from the Latin word drawn, meaning to do or to act. And since the times of Eurydice and Aristotle, dramas have been entertainment, plays to examine the deepest pits of humanity and the humorous satire of a society. So why do we use this word to describe us, our friends, having some of the worst times of our lives? Why do we take entertainment out of watching friendships broken and lives temporarily uprooted? Most drama I've seen could have been avoided with just a genuine conversation. But I know that can be easier said than done. Because with so many people involved and telling their own opinion, the truth gets objective, distilled, differentiated depending on who you talk to. And because I'm a goth teenager, here's my obligatory Edgar Allan Poe quote. "You are young yet, my friend, but the time will arrive when you will learn to judge for yourself of what is going on in the world without trusting to the gossip of others. Trust nothing of what you hear, and one half that you see." This comes from his short story, The System of Dr. Tar and Professor Feather, published in November of 1845. This quote, though, is often taken out of context. The story takes place in a private mental hospital for the young, in which a visitor comes, surprised at the humane tactics being used to treat the insane. In response to this, Dr. Tar says thus to our main character. However, the rest of the story is filled with those same doctors and nurses gossiping about how stupid their patients are, mocking them viciously. The room is at one point, bless you, described as so loud that a word spoken in an ordinary key stood no more chance of being heard than the voice of a fish from the bottom of Niagara Falls, as if one would need a megaphone to be heard. This social commentary from 1845 shows the far extent of the hypocrisy that Poe saw from people in his life, mocking people for committing certain actions and then going back and doing those same actions themselves. It also shows the chaos, the room of shouting and one-upping that can only truly be beaten by not being there at all. Because drama never happens in a void. There's always existing emotions and histories at play that culminate into the conversations that we have. But when we have all the information available, we still want something to talk about. So we talk about the same information. Then starts something called an echo chamber effect. The term, in reference to sociology, first emerged around 2015 and has recently been gaining attention in the mainstream as it relates to social media and politics. An echo chamber effect happens when a feedback loop happens. Feedback is an audio term. It's what happens when the audio, my voice, goes into this microphone, the input, then up to an amplifier to make it louder, and then to the output, those speakers, so everybody in the audience can hear it. However, a feedback loop happens when this goes wrong. When the loudened output is mistakenly put back into the input, it just keeps getting louder, as if one was stuck in a room with the sound echoing back off the walls. The resulting sound is an exponentially increasing whine of a distorted noise, no longer recognized as my voice that initially went in. The same thing happens with drama. When people react to the same information, have the same emotions, they start to amplify themselves. Anger and disgust runs high, and it just gets harder to completely agree with anyone's side of the story, bless you, as the truth gets differentiated, distilled. It just gets worse and worse. People lose themselves in it. It gets deafening. It gets angry, louder, louder, and angrier until all you can hear is one loud synonymous sound of everybody talking at once. It's not a good time. People get hurt in the mess, and what do? Glorify it. It's for the plot, guys. Loki in my main character arc. My life feels like a movie. A drama, even. Again, talking gossip is not inherently a bad thing. It's okay if somebody hurts you to want to vent about it. Maybe warn others, steer them clear so they don't get hurt. But it's only when it veers out of control, becomes too much, that it becomes harmful for everybody involved. But it doesn't need to be this way. There are things we can do to escape it. Like, how about, instead of focusing on who in common we hate, focus on what in common we have instead, what in common we love? Like, what special interest could you talk about for an hour without stopping? Would you rather fight 1 Edgar Allan Poe-sized raven or 100 raven-sized Edgar Allan Poes? See, it never was a question of should we gossip. It was a question of how do we know when we've gone too far? And I, being a modern American high schooler that goes to Rancho Campana, have had to think about this a lot, too much. So, I have thought of 3 rules to help you not fall into the tracks of the gossip train, presented thus. 1. Everything is salty. A lot of sodium in this place. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. You have no idea how true it could be. Even somebody you completely trust will still have some biases. Like, remember that quote from earlier that I attributed to Gandhi? He didn't say that. I made it up. And 2, is this productive? This essentially means entertain the gossip to a point. Here are some things that I ask myself when I find myself gossiping. Is this helpful? Do I need to be here? Are people getting hurt in this situation? Have we heard this all before? Is there any new information to be added? Are we just going to put ourselves in an echo chamber with this? And 3, is this productive? Is this an issue that needs to be addressed? Or are we just filling the space with idle talk? That's okay. Or are we just making ourselves angrier? And 3, do not participate. Usually, conversations pass the test, but when they don't, all you can really do is make yourself scarce to it. Leave the room, listen to music. At the end of the day, all you can really control is yourself and how you react to things. So if everybody else is reacting, feeding off each other, becoming angrier and angrier, louder and louder, cut it off at the amp. Don't let yourself be another contributing factor to make the drama louder. Don't scream at the bottom of the waterfall with a megaphone. Just swim away. Maybe it'll continue on without you, but that's not your problem anymore. Now you can judge for yourself of what is going on in the world without trusting to the gossip of others. The world of spilled tea is perilous, slippery, and annoyingly persistent. But it can be good too. It can bring people together, help people survive in a world of unending streams of information. It's only when it veers out of control, becomes too much, that it becomes harmful for everybody involved. So you have to remember how to escape it. It's your job to stop the drama. Don't participate in it. Find something better to do. Instead of focusing on who in common we hate, why not focus on what in common we have instead? I am sure that everybody in this room right now has at least one thing in common. Because everybody here is sitting in a room, and nobody is talking.